Alamance County's sports authority since 1947. The voice of Alamance sports is here. The weekend is over, but the debate has just begun. Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the show that everyone in Alamance County is talking about. The program that sets the agenda for the week ahead. This is the UniFirst Corporation Monday Night Huddle. We're ready to dive deep into every thrilling moment. We're tearing down the tape on the gridiron, breaking down the buzzer beaters on the hardwood, analyzing the action on the diamond, and covering so much more across the entire sports landscape. Your voice matters here. The phone lines are open, and we want to hear your takes, your triumphs, and your predictions. The UniFirst Corporation Monday Night Huddle is proudly brought to you by Things Above, The Fat Man and His Food, Buffalo Lanes Family Bowling, and Discount Furniture Connection. Get comfortable, get ready to call, and let's talk some sports. The UniFirst Corporation Monday Night Huddle starts now.
Welcome to the Monday Night Huddle and Happy New Year to everyone out there. Before we dive all the way back into tonight's action, before we come all the way back from the new year, Todd, we've got to start tonight by offering some condolences to the family of Eamon Hips and the entire Western Alamance community. A tragic and horrible loss of a young man that I didn't know personally, but speaking with some who did, seems to be a great young man who had a large impact on everyone that did know him. So again, we want to send our thoughts, prayers, and deepest condolences to the family and everyone impacted at Western Alamance and throughout the community.
Absolutely. You know, when you have a young person to pass is more tragic because that person hadn't even begun to experience life. And our thoughts and prayers are with the Western community, the friends, the family, anybody that is impacted by the death of this young man. We send our heartfelt sympathy directly to you. It's a tragedy.
Absolutely, for sure. Figured we had to start the show off that way. Wanted to pay much well-deserved respects to that entire community and the family of that young man. Again, switch gears now. Well, Todd, once again, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everyone listening out there. We're back off of a holiday break. We've got a lot to catch up on since our little holiday break. Basketball season is in full effect here. Conference play is about to get really heated up. College basketball is also in full swing. The local teams around here are all over the place right now. On the gridiron, your Tar Heels have made some staff changes, and the transfer portal is wide open. We'll let you gloat about that
I was going to
later
say a little
on
gloating
in the
coming
show.
up.
UNC also might have found their quarterback for next year. We'll discuss that as well. And if you'd have told me back in September when we started the show here, Todd, that we'd be talking about the Panthers making and hosting a playoff game, I would have told you were crazy, but they have managed to lose their way into the playoffs over the weekend, so we'll discuss that as well. I'm pumped to be back on the air. We've got plenty to discuss tonight, Todd. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I think that, you know, it's just ironic that your arch enemy is the Atlanta Falcons, and they're the ones that actually pole vaulted you into the playoffs. But yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. And also, it's Black Monday for a lot of NFL coaches.
Yep,
and
we've got a list made here.
Yeah.
We've got a long one.
Yeah.
It has been quite the day, and the couple that were let go before Black Monday as well. But it has been quite an exciting day, well, for some, and not exciting
and then, of
for
course,
others.
The playoff picture.
Yeah.
I mean, are you talking about you're looking at, you know, Georgia and Ohio State and Alabama got destroyed.
Yep, all being at home on the couch.
Yeah.
The ACC continues to move on. All I know right now is that the team that finished fourth in the ACC is in the Final Four of the college football playoff.
Exactly.
That sounds like a pretty strong conference, if you ask me.
And backed in.
Bias or not.
They backed in just like the Carolina Panthers did.
Yep, absolutely. But they did what they needed to do, and they've done it twice now in playoff games. So the Canes continue to move on. They've got Ole Miss. I believe they're the Thursday game, and then the Friday game is Indiana and Oregon. I could be backwards on which day is which, but then again, after a long holiday break like that, I barely know what day it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, me and you this morning, we were kind of confused, you know, being back off of being gone for 2 weeks. You know, what day is today? because the office has been closed. We've been running automated. First time I've seen all of y'all this new year, and just want to write fast acknowledge Kirk Cincinnati, who is the head coach of Indiana.
Yep.
A lot of people don't talk about this, especially when you're talking about ESPN and stuff like that. He actually got his Head Start coach not at James Madison. That's all they're talking about is James Madison. He actually started at Elon.
Absolutely.
And one of his coaches is Coach Trisciani, who was on his team when he was at Elon, and he left Elon to go to James Madison. A lot of people don't realize that. You got the number one team in the NCAA that is getting ready to go for a national championship that's being coached by the head coach that was a coach at Elon.
Yep.
It's amazing.
A voice that's been heard many times on the WBAG airwaves, Coach Cignetti. So we're pulling for Indiana in a way here at WBAG. I guess we're de facto Indiana fans through Coach Cignetti, hoping for all the best there and some further success. Speaking of the break that we took there, the little 2 weeks off you were talking about, haven't been on the air in quite some time. We've got a lot of catching up to do. I thought we'd start with what we're best at, what we're most familiar with around here, and that's the high school basketball scene. Since we've been gone, conference play has kicked off. The holiday tournaments have come and gone. Coaches now have a pretty good idea of what their teams can be, and we're about to get the real meat and potatoes of the schedule on the other side, starting tomorrow night right here on WBAG, AMFM.com.
Yeah, we are going to be at the game of the week. And the reason why it's going to be on the internet only is because of the simple fact of that we have to play Duke in Louisville, which is also going to be an amazing game. I mean, you talked about it earlier today. This is a replay of the ACC championship from last year where Duke got the best of Louisville. Louisville under this is his second year as the head coach. He's looking to revenge from last year and looking to make it strong. But, of course, unfortunately, he ran into a buzzsaw over the weekend, just like Carolina and State and a couple others did, in tournament play or conference play. But you will be at Southeast Alamance tomorrow night. Me and Vance will be on the internet, WBAG, AMFM.com. And speaking of the internet, let's go ahead and plug our new show on YouTube.
I've got it right here. WBAG Sports is officially on YouTube. You can now catch all of our coaches interview series, all of our off-the-bench special things that we're doing, and eventually we'll get this show, the Monday Night Huddle, up on the YouTube page as well. You can find that at WBAG AM/FM Sports on YouTube with the first video already up, and it is a more in-depth breakdown of the high school basketball season up to this point, in detail thorough rundown of how we got to where we are, the conference standings through the first two games, more of an overall look at the records than the conference play with it just being so early already. But we're going to be doing a lot more with the new YouTube page, so be sure to go out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, stay up to date with everything going on in and around Alamance County sports on the new YouTube page. Again, WBAG AM/FM Sports over on YouTube.
And I tell you what, it's not going to cost you a dime. And if you hit that subscribe button, it's going to show you every time that one of our new videos show up. It's going to show up on your activity screen, and that way you won't never miss it. And if you don't like it, then all you got to do is hit the unsubscribe button, and you get your money back, which
Zero for zero.
Zero for zero. We're not charging anything because you can't lose it. But, yeah, so I woke up this morning, and I'm getting ready and everything, and I see a text come across that says the YouTube is up, and I click on it. I'm sitting there and I'm getting ready and I'm listening to it, and I just hit over, and I think I was the second one to subscribe, but now it's in my algorithm. So now every time that you come up, and you can do it too. Yep. It's easy. Don't cost nothing.
A further in-depth recap of the high school basketball season is live now on the YouTube page. We'll go over one here tonight, but of course this one's got a little more visuals. You can kind of see and go along with everything we're saying, if that helps you understand a little better.
And you can see what we look like.
Exactly. You can see how pretty I look on a camera. Todd will be featured in several of our videos as well as we get the page up and running. But
and you'll understand why we have a face for radio.
That's it. That's what Mama always told me anyway.
Yeah. Probably your daddy. Your daddy is.
Yeah,
I love talking to your daddy. He's hilarious.
Well, let's dive right into it. Let's take a look at where the high school basketball situation sits here in Alamance County as we come out of the holiday break and we get ready to really ramp things up.
It is packed.
It sure is. We'll start with the girls' side of things. Two teams, as you all know, coming off of state titles, Southeast Alamance and Western Alamance, both coming off of state titles in their respective classes last year. As we've mentioned, cannot both repeat this year because they're both now in the same 5A classification, and we've talked about it already. They've got a battle is really the only way to describe what's coming tomorrow night between Southeast and Western, the first time they'll play this season, and if I'm not mistaken, the first time I think they've
ever played. Yeah,
if I'm not
I agree
mistaken,
with that.
I believe that's the first time they will have ever played tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think during the Central City Classic, we had established that would be the conference would be the first time they've ever played each other.
Yep, right, exactly. And so, but we'll start with we'll go the way I've got it written down here through the conference standings. The team that sits atop the conference standings through the first two games, they've recently moved into high school overtime's 336 top 15 rankings as well. That's the Eastern Alamance Lady Eagles. They sit at number 1, 2-0 in conference play. The reason they're at number 1, though, is because they have scored 145 points in their first two conference games and only given up a total of 31. They're averaging 63 points per game through their first 10 this season, giving up 31.9 on the defensive side, with those two conference wins coming over Person and Southern Alamance. WBAG Sports was at the game against Person. They only allowed 8 points on defense throughout the entirety of the game, not just the first quarter, but the entirety of the game. They only gave up 8 points, and they're coming out of the holiday break, Todd, reeling, as Eastern has got 2 wins and a bracket championship, if you will, at the Ben Smith Holiday Classic over the holiday break. They also have not lost a road game yet this year, so Coach LaConda Curry has really got things going in the right direction down in Mebane.
And you got 3 players. You got Gregory, Trollinger, and Scott. All are averaging the exact same amount of points per game.
Yep.
So you can double team one, but you can't double team 3, and that's going to leave somebody open. And when you've got 3 that I think they're like a point and a half.
They're all in double figures between
yeah.
12 and 10 and like 13-ish, depending on
I think
when you've been looking at the stat sheet.
Yeah, I mean, Gregory, and I just pulled it up here, Gregory, 13.8 points per game. Then you have Trollinger right behind her at 13.5 points per game. And then Scott's coming in at a lonely third place at 12.9.
Yep.
I mean,
all right in there. And if you keep looking further down that stat sheet, one of the maybe the most impressive thing that you'll see on there is that there are 5 players on that team right now averaging at least 3 steals per game. There's 2 averaging 4 steals per game. They are a defensive-first team with players who can score the ball when necessary, and they do that well as well. But they want to be a defensive-first team, and so far this year they have done exactly that, giving up just 31.9 per game through their first 10.
Yeah, a lot of things have to do is the rebounds, because they're putting up some numbers on rebounds too. So they're doing exactly what they're doing. They're blocking out, they're crashing the boards, they're getting the ball, and they're turning it back over, putting it in the hands of their shooters, making points and coming back down and playing defense.
Yep, they sure are, and they've done well to do that so far. I know they want to really be mentioned in the upper echelon of this conference with the Southeast Alamance, with the Western Alamance, the 2 teams who, on paper, coming off of their state titles, look like they would be poised to be at the top of the conference. Eastern wants to be mentioned in that same sentence, and I think so far they have earned the right, at least early on in the season.
And then one other thing, and then we'll move on, is when you're looking at stats, the free throws per game, you don't want to foul these girls because you've got Gregory with 82%, and then following her is Ross at 73%, and then Rogers is coming in lonely third at 69%. So if you put them on line, they're going to hit the ball.
Yep.
They're going to hit it.
And a key piece of this Eagle team before we do move on, like you said there, on the defensive side of the ball specifically, has been a new addition to the team, Bailey Burris. She was a member of the Western Alamance State Championship team last year.
Yeah, exactly.
She's come over this year to play for Eastern, and you can tell her impact is felt in a big way on the defensive side of the ball. She's good on offense as well. She's more than capable of holding her own on that end, but where she shines is defensively. She's a fantastic on-ball defender, off-ball defender, and she helps make this team go on that end of the floor as well.
And I know that it's really early in the season. I mean, because they just have started conference. But now you're talking, Southeast and Western, let's throw Eastern in that mix
Absolutely.
too. I mean, you've got 3 teams right there, and I'm just off the top of my head, 3 teams that could possibly make the playoffs and 3 teams that could possibly go further in the playoffs.
Yep. In the YouTube video we were just talking about there, the one that's up now, I do give 3 favorites that I think can win the conference for both the boys and the girls in Eastern. It's on that list, along with Southeast and Western on the girls' side being the 3 that I think right now have the best chance, at least early on in the season. Of course, things could change as we continue to progress. And we'll see tomorrow night as Eastern starts back their conference play and their conference schedule with a road trip down to Cummings, another team who's gotten off to a hot start that we'll talk about here in a minute. But we'll continue down the list. Sitting second in conference play right now, Todd, the Southeast Alamance Stallions. Again, the points scored through the first 2 games are the reason that Eastern is above them. They're both 2-0 in conference play. Southeast now 13-0 as they come off a championship victory in their own holiday tournament, but they were able to win 3 games in that one. And Ariana Johnson, the leading scorer for that team, a name who we've said a lot throughout broadcasts, throughout this show. She scored 39 points in those 3 games, only had single digits in one of them, and then had 19 and 16 in the last 2 games to close out the tournament.
And then you can't take away the floor general Paylor. Paylor, we have seen her in action 2 times. Well, I've seen her in action 2 times. You've seen her a couple more times, where she just takes over. Yeah. I mean, she just completely just is, and I mean, she has earned that title of being a floor general. And she's, you're talking about that Johnson is leading, and Paylor is right behind her, followed by LaChapelle. And LaChapelle, when that girl is down low, she's leading in rebounds. Oh, yeah. That's another one that's crashing the boards. I mean, she's amazing. And then right behind her is Johnson. So I mean, there's another team that's crashing the boards. But the thing is they didn't lose anybody from last year. These are not freshmen. These are not sophomores. These are not juniors that were seniors that left. These were juniors and sophomores that moved up to be seniors and juniors this year.
Yep, absolutely, and that's something that we've talked about here several times. If you've got a second, I'll try and catch my breath to read this Shania Paylor stat line. 12 point at the time of making these notes. 12.8 points per game, 4.3 rebounds per game, 5.5 assists per game, and 4.2 steals per game. That's Shania Paylor. Ariana Johnson, 17.2 points per game, 7.3 rebounds per game, 2.3 assists per game, 4.2 steals per game. Clara LaChapelle, 9.9 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game. So there you have it. Just the numbers further concrete what you were just saying there about that team being led by those 3 players and that continuity that they have coming back from last year.
And Paylor, and I'm not saying anything bad about her. Please don't think I am. But with her being so short as she is, and we've discussed this, she reminds me of like a Spud Webb or a Muggsy Bogues. Just the way her center of what word am I looking for? Her
low center of gravity.
That's it. Low center of gravity. She can move. She can go one way, have you going that way, and then turn around, and boom, she's right back in there, and she's fast. Oh, my gosh, she is so fast. Right now, I mean, I'm not saying anything about anybody else, but right now I'm favoring her to be the conference player of the year.
Yeah, I don't know how you couldn't right now with the way she's been playing through their first 13 games now after that holiday tournament. For all the 90s wrestling fans out there, I've coined this team the Lex Luger of the conference, as I call them, the total package. They've got senior leadership. They've got size, speed, a dynamic young star in Ariana Johnson, as she's just a sophomore. They have winning experience. They're battle-tested not only last year, but coming off 3 really true tests they've already passed this year with North Lincoln, Seaforth, and South Central, and overcoming and passing all of those tests with flying colors. It's hard not to think this. Not only Ariana Johnson, but this team is the favorite in this conference.
Yeah, and don't say anything about Seaforth being a bad team.
Right.
I think they've only lost 2 games.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not mistaken. They've either lost once or not at all since they played Southeast.
Yeah, they're very tough. But we're gonna be there tomorrow night. We're also going to face the team that we're going to talk about once we take this quick break. We return. We'll come back with the Western Alamance Lady Warriors. You're listening to the Union First Monday Night Huddle here on WBAG. We'll be back right after this.
This segment of the Monday Night Huddle is sponsored by Fat Man and His Food, your place for fantastic barbecue, tacos, fish, ribs, chicken, and more. Their motto says it all. Come hungry and leave happy. Don't change that dial. The Huddle returns in a moment.
Football is here, and nothing goes better with football than barbecue. Whether at home with your friends or trying to punt that tailgate over the top, you need the Fat Man. Fat Man and His Food caters the best barbecue around and is the perfect play call for any event. With pulled pork, brisket, turkey, and all the fixins, let the Fat Man make this your best season yet. Call the Fat Man and His Food at 336-844-5000 today to kick your game day off right.
This is the Monday Night Huddle on WBAG. Now, back to the action with Vance Ballard and Todd Davis.
Yeah, you talk about some football action. We got playoffs. We also have the Super Bowl coming up. And if you're going to have a big Super Bowl party, go to the Fat Man and His Food. They're located on, South 3rd Street in Mebane?
I think it's Center Street. Yeah.
Center Street, okay. They're right there inside of Buffalo Lanes. Man, I tell you what, some of the best smoked grilled wings that you could possibly have. So, you're going to have a big Super Bowl party, include Fat Man and His Food. Get by there and get you a bunch
South
of stuff.
5th Street.
There you go. I knew it was.
Just so we could have it right.
I said 3rd. I'm sorry. Yeah. But, yeah, Fat Man and His Food for all your tailgate and Super Bowl party needs. And then especially family gatherings, anything you want to do, he'll cater it.
Absolutely. Just a delicious lunch.
Yes.
In the afternoon.
And I have done that. I have
sure.
done that.
Oh, yeah.
I did that. Did that the other day. Rode down there.
Time every time.
Rode down there on a Wednesday and stopped in and got me some wings and went home and I don't know what I watched, but I watched something on TV.
That's it.
Eating some wings. But
yeah, you
anyway,
don't remember the TV show, but you remember the wings. That's how
I
good
did. You got that right.
There you go.
Hey, let's talk about Western Alamance. They're number 3rd in the on the list, but not actually number 3rd because it's kind of like a logjam at the very top of the conference for the ladies.
And they sit where they sit in part due to the fact that they have only played one conference game because their boys team has played Graham, and Graham does not have a girls team, as we've talked about quite a bit here on the show, but they're 1-0 in conference play because of that. They're coming as well off of a state title. They look a little different than Southeast does coming off of theirs. However, they lost their 2 best players from last year, and they started the season a little late behind everyone. They've only played 8 games up until this point, 7-1. Started off a little slow, obviously, with 1 loss, but have won 7 straight. They've got the train back on the tracks, and they've kind of figured out exactly who it is they're going to be able to lean on, who's going to be the leaders, and how this new roster is going to look for Coach Loy and company coming off of that state championship. They're led, of course, by senior Reagan Averett. She's one of the returners from last year, along with another senior, Kanaya Alexander, but they also rely heavily on somebody you and I remember frequently from the Central City Classic, sophomore Ava Mitchell, a name we said a lot before she went down with an injury, but she is back in the lineup. She's back healthy in action. Sophomore London Harrison, as well as Emery Webster and Kira Benitez, kind of make that team go the rest of the way for the Warriors.
And, you also got to think about Ava Mitchell, the sophomore, who's also got her name right there up in the mix. She's only 1 rebound per game, averaging behind Harrison, and she's there. But one of my favorites, and we talked about it, and I've talked about it. I just like her intensity, her drive, her leadership, and that's Reagan Averett. Mm-hmm. She now is the where Sykes moved on.
Yeah, I was about to say she's really filled the shoes.
Yeah, she's went.
Yeah, Ali Sykes from last year.
She came in and I told you that at the Center Classic that I liked her tenacity, and I loved the way that she has appeared at that time to step in to those 2's spot, and she really has proved that since week number 2 of high school basketball.
Yeah, and she's continued to do so. The Warriors, this Lady Warriors team, they've hit their stride at just the right time, it seems, coming into and now out of the holiday break. They played a holiday tournament at Ledford High School. They got 3 wins down there. Reagan Averett had 19 and 15 in the first 2 games, so that just speaks to what you were saying there, Todd. She has really continued to elevate her game. The stats from the 3rd game weren't up this afternoon when I last checked, but again, the Warriors are hitting their stride just in time for what is going to be I'm not even sure I have the adjective for how exciting this game tomorrow night on paper should be. Now, things could go differently than what we're expecting here, but I don't think we're overhyping this matchup tomorrow between Southeast and Western Alamance. I really think it is going to be that good.
I think that everybody in Alamance County that has any kind of, inclination of how that high school basketball works will be there at that game, or if not there, hopefully listening to us online. I'm so excited about being there because me and you've talked about this is going to probably be the game of the season, but they're going to play again. They'll play at Western, but there's going to be a lot of intensity tomorrow night between these two teams, and it to me is building up to be a classic.
Absolutely. It's hard, like I say, it's hard to look at it, especially on paper. I know they don't play the games on paper, and that's not necessarily what I'm talking about, but it's hard to look at what we've got in the conference, the storylines leading into this game, and not think what you said there. It's definitely going to be the game of the week, maybe potentially the two games of the season here in this conference when these two teams do go to battle. And that's not necessarily just on the girls' side either. We'll get to the boys here in a few minutes, but that game is going to be exciting as well. We'll move on a little bit now, though. We'll talk about the team behind Western, the Cummings Lady Cavaliers, 7-2 on the year so far, 1-1 in conference play. They're scoring 52.1 points per game, giving up just 33 points per game. And the most impressive thing about them coming into and now going out of the holiday break is that they have already surpassed their win total from last year, Todd. They were 5-14 on the year last year, winless in the non-conference last season. This season got off to a 6-0 start, already surpassed the win total from last year. Now with their 7th win, they did drop two straight going into the holiday break, but were able to get a win over Roxborough Community during the holiday break to get back in the win column.
Yeah, and they lost to Southeast Alamance, and we were there, and it was a nick and tuck game in the first, and they were actually tied in the first period. Second period, you could sort of see a little bit of distance coming out.
The depth of Southeast is kind of was the issue, but there's some sneak ability.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word or not. We might have just made it up here on the huddle, but there's some tendency to sneak up on some teams from this Cummins roster for sure.
Yeah.
They led Aaliyah Mitchell, Linnea Johnson, Alicia Johnson are the three strong stars on that team, having strong starts to their year, helping them once again surpass their win total from last year already early in the season.
And then that's another game of the week tomorrow.
It's going to be a very fun
They're
match.
going to be facing the Eastern Alamance Eagles at Cummins. And but yeah, I mean, when we saw them, they had just came off a big, huge victory over Williams, and and that's the Battle of the Burlington between Williams and Cummins. And I don't know how far back it goes, but I don't think Cummins has beat Williams in a few years in ladies basketball. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. We'd have to do some research on that. But they were coming off that big win, and like you said,
They definitely did beat them last year.
yeah,
It was a non-conference game, and
Yeah,
they
it was-
didn't win any of it.
yeah. So I think that that had a lot to do with the way Southeast they came out. They were on that emotional high. But you're right, Southeast kind of wore them down, and then second half it was all Southeast. So don't let that score fool you one bit, because Cummins is really good.
Right, and there's also no shame in not being able to stay with Southeast for 4 whole quarters. Again, they're not a lot of teams.
Oh, they never gave up.
They're the highest ranked public school in the state of North Carolina right now for a reason. I think maybe that flip-flop today with Lake Norman being just above them, but one of the 2 highest ranked public schools in the state of North Carolina in basketball right now for a reason.
And and you saw Cummins never gave up. They were
absolutely
were
not.
down by 30-some points at one time, and they were out there, like we said, WWE taking it to the floor. That's exactly what they were doing. They were battling. They were searching. They were trying to get there. They were trying to sacrificing leg and limb by diving for the ball and stuff. There was no quitting this Cummins Cavaliers girls team.
No, none at all. And again, that's why I think going into the rest of conference play as the season continues to unfold, they're going to maybe not even sneak up on some people. I think they're just going to come out and flat out beat a lot of teams, and that could be interesting to see what kind of noise they're able to make in the conference. Following them in 5th place right now, just through, again, first 2 conference games. This team also only played 1 because Graham was on their schedule as well. That's the Williams Lady Bulldogs. They are off to a 3-4 start overall. coming out of the holiday break. And a little slower than expected, or a little slower than they had hoped for, but this team is very, very young. No seniors, just 4 juniors, trying to find their identity and who it is that's going to be the leader on that team going forwards.
And right now, Scott, a sophomore, seems to be putting her name in the hat, and so far she's backing it up.
Absolutely. She's averaging right at a double-double. I'll go 16.5 points a game, 9.2 rebounds a game. That's close enough to a double-double for my liking, and she is the scoring leader on the team, the quarterback, the floor general, if you will. That's sophomore Maddie Harris. Both of those girls very young, and that speaks to, again, the future for Coach Jason Cheek's team.
And then once again, there you go. Their coach has what it takes to bring them up to par. Well, I'm not saying they're not at par right now, but he was a defending conference champion coach of the year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he has the capability. He's been doing it for a long time. When my son played at Graham, he was his JV coach, and total respect for all coaches, but Jason Cheek, he has what it takes to build them up.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Last 2 teams bringing up the rear in the conference, still looking for their first conference win, as well as Williams, but sitting at 0-2 in conference play. Person and Southern Alamance. Person 3-8 overall on the year so far. Southern 1-8. They do have that elusive first victory, but they have yet to really find their footing as a whole, only scoring 20 points per game. But Person also struggling a little bit on the offensive side of the ball as well. So it's been more or less both of these 2 teams, kind of like Williams, struggling to really find that identity and who they are. But there's a lot of season left, and these are definitely teams you shouldn't sleep on all season long for sure.
Now, don't know too much about Person County, but, Southern Alamance, where I went to school at, where I actually went back and coached high school football under Coach Tony Perot. And, of course, I played all sports there at Southern Alamance. Their top 3 categories are all led by top 2 are sophomores. So this is another very inexperienced young team that is battling, trying to find their identity. And I don't have no doubt that Coach Lloyd down there is Coach Lloyd. I have to look that up. If it's not, I completely apologize for that. Give me just 1 second. Talk to the people there, John.
Yeah, well, that does wrap up our girls portion.
Coach Lynch.
Coach Lynch, there you go. Once Todd finishes that, we have wrapped up the ladies portion. So let's take another quick break, and when we get back on the other side, we'll run through how the men's side is sitting right now. We'll preview a little bit of what's coming up in the week, and then we'll talk about some college sports on the back end, and we'll really dive into some of the more fun stuff.
And I'll get to gloat
on the other side, and Todd gets to take a second victory lap in 2 shows, ladies and gentlemen. Not a rerun, just another situation in which Todd gets to celebrate something.
What'd you call me, Todd Nostradamus?
That's it, Todd Stradamus.
Todd Nostradamus. Yeah, I like that.
All knowing. We'll be right back here on 105.9 FM, 1150 AM, and WBAG.com.
You're listening to the Monday Night Huddle with Vance and Todd, brought to you by Buffalo Lane's Mebane Family Bowling Center. This is your destination for fun. Planning a family night, date night, office party, or special event? Buffalo Lane's Mebane offers an exciting and memorable experience for everyone. Grab a ball, hit the lanes, and bowl with the herd. We'll have more Huddle coverage after the break.
It may be cooling off outdoors, but things are just heating up at Buffalo Lanes in Mebane. Featuring 18 bowling lanes with a brand new interactive scoring system and a full arcade, Buffalo Lanes is the perfect family-owned, alcohol-free entertainment for a night out with the whole group. With food at the pig pen by the Fat Man, cozy up for a wonderful date night. Roll on over to Buffalo Lanes at 103 South 5th Street in Mebane to make sure your next family night, birthday party, or date night is guaranteed to be a strike.
This is the Monday Night Huddle on WBAG. Now, back to the action with Vance Ballard and Todd Davis.
And welcome back to Monday Night Huddle brought to you by UniFirst Corporation here on WBAG, your hometown radio network. Vance, Ballard, Todd Davis with you. Catching up from a little break we had over the holidays, not just the students that took one. Todd and I decided to take some family time over the holidays as well. But that did not mean we weren't locked into all things going on around Alamance County and getting ready for an even bigger and better 2026 here in the WBAG Sports Department. We're moving now to the men's side of the high school basketball recap, run-through, update that we're giving you as we come out of the holiday break into the new year, getting ready to ramp things up in conference play. And we'll do just like we did with the girls there, just kind of move over to the boys and go down the conference standings as they sit, as the notes I've taken portray them sitting at the top of the list, and also having moved into the high school overtime top rankings this week. The Williams Bulldogs, they are now 8-1 overall, 2-0 in conference play, and they've come out firing on all cylinders. As I said in the YouTube video, you can watch a team full of football players translating their gridiron success onto the hardwood. In 8-1, averaging 73.6 points a game, just giving up 53.5. Only one of their 7 wins has come by less than double digits, Todd. That was a 71-62 victory at Southeast Guilford to open the season. But as I told you in the office this morning, when this team wins, they win.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I know you've got the stats there, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. You know, you're talking about your top 2 scorers. You got Bubba Sims and Kobe Elliott. Both were transfers. Both have come in. Both have gelled together. Bubba Sims leading the Bulldogs at 24 points per game average, and then Kobe Elliott's coming right behind him at 23.8. So if you got them firing on all cylinders, you got the rest of them playing some offense, some defense, and they're dangerous.
Yeah, both of those guys averaging over 3.5 steals per game as well. So, like you said, defense, their impact is felt on that end of the floor. And that is really what, the one time that we were able to see Williams early in the season in person, that was one of the more impressive things to me. Was this is not the longest team or the biggest team by any means. Now, they do have freshman Robert Davis down low, one of the younger guys on the team who starts. He's got some good size to him, but they don't rely on size and length to do things. They're very athletic, they're freakishly fast, and they play incredibly aggressive defense that usually pays off for them in terms of victory, and has done so far this season.
And your ball leaders, of course, you know, you got, if the ball's in Bubba's hands, you got to face his points per game. The ball's in Kobe Elliott's hands, you got to face his points per game. But both of them are also in the top 3 on free throws per game, as Isaiah Long is another senior. He's averaging 74% free throws, followed by Bubba at 70%, and then, of course, Kobe at 66%. So there you go. You got 3 more players that you do not want to foul.
No, and this team is, in my opinion, a little bit scarier than maybe anyone else in the conference going forward, just because kind of something you talked about a minute ago. They've got transfers, Bubba Sims, Isaiah Long, and a freshman Robert Davis, who that's at least 3 players that have never played basketball together. They now only have 8 games under their belt together and have done this so far through the first 8 as they continue to play and continue to get better. Watch out for the Bulldogs. I think they're going to be scary. They're going to be a tough team to beat here in this conference. Again, they rely on their athleticism, and they've got a fun game against Southern coming up tomorrow, as we mentioned in the girls' preview as well.
Yeah, and Coach Lloyd, and I know that's Jimmy Lloyd. Coach Lloyd, who's taken over from the legendary Tommy Cole, has found his niche. And even though, you know, he sat on the bench for a couple of years under Coach Cole is still kind of mentoring him a little bit, and you can still see that Williams tradition, that legacy of Coach Tommy Cole that has kind of progressed down to Coach Lloyd, and you can still see that in the tradition that Coach Tommy Cole has set at Williams for over those years.
Oh, absolutely. And like I say, it'll be interesting to watch how they continue to improve and continue to develop and build to get the chemistry together as a unit and figure out some depth off the bench as well. That's going to be something to watch for, and how they continue to play. And so We'll move on now to the team that it sits in second in the conference, and it is the Western Alamance Warriors, 2-0 in conference play. Not the best overall record on this list, 4-3 through their first 7 games, but they picked the right 3 to lose and the right 2 to win to be sitting in second place in the conference so far. They come in averaging 58 points per game on offense, giving up 51 on the defensive side, and so you can tell just by those numbers there, they're not the most explosive team. They're not necessarily out to beat you by putting up 100, but they will suffocate you on the defensive end of the floor, and that's how they've managed to get their 4 wins so far this year.
And, somebody that impressed me when we saw him was Matthew Huffman. Mm-hmm. Huffman is a senior, very strong. Also, another one that is Carson White, who's a junior. Both of them two were kind of standouts to me. Really liked their drive and their trying to build the team up when we got to see them. However, they faced a very tough Bishop McGuinness, and we just looked up Bishop McGuinness just a few minutes ago, and Bishop McGuinness is shooting lights out the way it is. But those two are going to battle tomorrow night, mm-hmm. Southeast and Western. The WBAG Fat Man and His Food internet only game tomorrow night, starting at 5:45. Listen exclusively on the internet. We've got a little link up, and you can listen to me and Vance bring you all of the action tomorrow night from Southeast Alamance. Just come on down if you can't get in and turn on the radio.
That's it.
Well, actually turn on the internet.
Yeah. And Western will be coming into that game coming off of a split on their side of the holiday tournament, a win over South Davidson, a loss to Oak Grove over the break. But they've started to kind of right the ship, won 2 straight conference games going into the break, then were able to win another one before dropping that last game there of the holiday tournament. But they seem to have gotten some things figured out. It'll be exciting, like you say, to watch how they continue to progress, especially tomorrow over at Southeast.
And they're going to face against my favorite high school basketball player. And are they next?
They sure are.
Okay. And we all know who that is. And we've seen him play several times in middle school, and that's Mr. Donnie Farley.
Yep, and Southeast sits at third in the conference play, but really it's 1A, B, and C. They're 2-0 along with Williams and Western, 8-3 overall on the year for the Stallions as they dropped the championship game in their holiday tournament. They won their first 2, but lost to Middle Creek 68-65 in overtime, what was a hard-fought and competitive game. But this team is another one to keep your eye on here in the conference. I've got them as one of the 3 favorites to win it on this side, on the boys' side of things as well. They're averaging just under 73 points a game, 61, giving up 61 on the defensive side of things. They're not the youngest team by any means, but they do only have 3 seniors, so they're not super old as well. But that kind of mix of experience makes them a very deep team, and much like Williams, they're hyper athletic with a veteran leader at point guard, Stu Edwards. He's what makes that team go.
Yeah, and also, let's get back to Donnie. Just like, when we talk about Cummins in football and we're talking about Brisky, you're talking about Southeast and Donnie Farley. And I told you before we ever started the basketball season that was the man to look out for. And when you look at their statistics, he is in the top 3 in every single category, mm-hmm. and he's only a sophomore. Big-time leader. He looks the part of being a basketball player. He's slender. He's got the muscle build, and he's got the height.
He looks the part of being a grown adult.
He actually looks the part about being maybe a defensive tight end or something.
Right. I described him at the same way I described Jaden Brisky at Cummings in the breakdown on the internet there as 2 guys who, I know Donnie Farley doesn't play football, but they both look like they've never taken their shoulder pads off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're just built that way.
We need to ask Ag tomorrow, is he even tried to go out there and approach him?
Just left the helmet in his locker every once in a while?
Yeah. We're walking down the hallway. Hey, Donnie, how you doing? Here, carry this football around for the rest of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, the Stallions, another team to keep an eye on, a very dangerous team in this conference. I think they could really make some noise as they continue to get better and they continue to progress. We've talked, obviously, ad nauseum now about the game they have tomorrow night against Western, so we'll just kind of move on to the team that is sitting underneath of them, 1-1 in conference play, the Person Rockets. We know the least about them. That's something we said in the girls' breakdown as well, but we do know they're averaging 53.4 points per game and only giving up 51 points per game, so they're winning most of their efforts on the defensive side as well. That's how they were able to win their one conference game over the Eagles of Eastern Alamance. They did it by being a very sound defensive team. Now they're kind of the opposite of Williams in Southeast. They're not a very deep team. They play three guys for most of the game: J.J. Cash, Kyan Lunsford, and Tate Winstead. They don't really come out of the game, but they're three really good basketball players, and so they've been able to kind of counteract that and lead themselves to an 7-5 overall record through going out of the holiday break.
Yeah, and the only reason why we don't know that much about them is because we don't get to see them play that much.
Right.
So, everything that we're doing, we're going by stats that we're getting up. And, until we actually see them play, we've seen everybody in Alamance County play so far, except for the Graham girls in Southern Alamance. And the reason why Graham girls, they just don't have a team, unfortunately. Right. But no disrespect to Person, we're hoping to get some of their games in also. And it's just like, you were talking about, you go by what's on the paper, and on paper it looks good. And I always say this back when I was interviewing Coach Fritz for the Coach's Show in football, and I happened to make that mistake by saying, well, on paper it looks pretty good. And he could say, well, Mr. Davis, if you played by the paperwork, you just show up on Thursday afternoon, trade off paperwork, and turn around and go back home. That's why you play the game.
Absolutely, and it's shown for the Rockets as they sit, as I mentioned, 1-1 in conference play. Right behind them, the Eastern Alamance Eagles, also 1-1 in conference play, 7-2 overall on the year. That's another team I think could be dangerous in this conference. They've got some young athleticism. They're pretty long on the inside with Mason Murphy, who stands listed at 6'5". I wouldn't be surprised if he's 6'6" with a longer than that wingspan. They got some veteran leadership in Christian Hester, Xavier McPherson, so they can kind of go a long ways as well, can this Eagle team. And they've been off to a hot start in conference play. They got one win over there in their holiday tournament as well in the Ben L. Smith Classic. They got a win over Page, a loss to T.W. Andrews, so they split in their holiday tournament. But they've got a fun matchup with Cummings coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, and also, you got to mention Hunter Eichmann, another kid I love. I love to watch him play. Very exciting. But Mason is your leader right now, and you're going through all of the stats. His name is in just about every single category. Mm-hmm. He's only a sophomore.
Yeah, and the way I've described him is he's really, really good. He kind of is the motor for that team, what makes them go. But he has a tendency at sometimes, in my opinion, to think too much about the fact that he is a sophomore and not really realize that he is 6'5", over 190, 200 pounds, and he can get in there with some of those older guys, some of those bigger guys, and compete. And once he gets that mindset that he can go in and bang down low with some of those bigger, older guys, he's going to be a real problem for defenses.
Yeah, he has the second best name in high school basketball. The first one, of course, is Major.
Yeah,
over Southeast. Yeah, Major.
Yeah, we are a big fan of that. We'll get to say that one a couple times tomorrow night, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, but Mason Murphy, that's a pretty cool name.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So we'll quickly go through the last three teams in the conference, not to slight them by any means, but I do want to talk about a lot of the stuff that we have left on the docket as well. And you can, again, catch a deep recap of the entire conference standings and how we got to where we are right now in basketball season over on WBAG AM/FM Sports on YouTube. But Cummings, Graham, Southern Alamance all sit 0-2 in conference play. Cummings 2-6 overall. Graham 4-5 overall on the year. Southern 3-5 on the year. Graham is an example of what I was kind of talking about when I said Western has won the right 2 games and lost the right 3 games. Graham has lost the wrong 2 games, and so even though they have 4 wins, they still sit near the bottom of the conference just because they've come out 0-2. But they're one of the teams I expect to I guess they sneak up now because they started off the way they've started off, but sneak up on some teams in this conference, and I think they're going to be an issue for some folks coming forward.
Yeah, and their new coach Rod Cousins, who is a name at Graham. You go through the lobby there at Graham High School, and you see all these trophies and these plaques and everything. And Rod Cousin is one of the participants of majority of those trophies and stuff that's in that cage. So they have a coach that is loyal to Graham, that knows the tradition of Graham, that has been there, has won, and has a way of winning. He'll get him on. He may not do it this year, but I guarantee you, in the future,
they're gonna head in the right direction.
yeah, under his leadership, I don't have a doubt.
Yep.
That
Same with Cummings, though. We watched them live in person against Southeast, and the score might not have reflected it, but that's a much better team than their record shows as well.
Yeah.
They've got some length and athleticism. They've got guys like Jaden Brisky who, once they fully get their basketball legs underneath them, if you will, are going to be a lot better. William Dawson is their center or forward, if you will, however you want to describe him, but he's the longest and maybe the tallest person that I've seen in the conference in person so far. He's at least 6'6", 6'7", freakishly long arms, and he was an issue on the inside before he got in some foul trouble against Southeast when we were over there.
And you talk about Jaden Brisky, he is one of my favorites, of course, because of the way that he handles himself. He's very respectful when he talks to you. He looks you in the eye. He shakes your hand. He, yes sir, no sir. He gives you straight answers. I love his attitude. And if he gets his basketball legs up underneath him, all he's got to do is just stand there.
Oh yeah.
Because like you said, that's a man among men. You're not going to be able to come in there too much.
No, not at all. And Southern is the same way. They're sitting right now 0-2 in conference play, but I think they've got 8 games under their belt, 3 wins so far, 5 losses. But again, I've said this a lot, but they're one of the teams kind of just still trying to figure out their identity and who they're going to be as an offense. Talked to Coach Epley before the season. You can see that on the WBAG Sports Facebook page right now. But I talked to him, and he was optimistic about the talent that he had. He knew it was going to take some time. He's got a younger team. It was going to take some time to kind of find a second fiddle and who else is going to help make that team go. And so as they progress through conference play, I think they could be a spoiler at the very least for some teams here in Mid-Carolina Conference. Yeah,
right now they're being led by Allen, who's a junior, who's leading in points per game at 18.8. He's also at 49% field goal. He leads with 5 rebounds per game. He's also got 3 assists per game in leading. He's also he dropped down to number 3 at 1.3 per steals, and he's at second with blocks with 1 block per game. And he's right now is their team leader, and he's a junior.
Yeah, so kind of like we were saying, they're still looking for that second fiddle who's going to be able to come along and kind of assist and help and add some more points and some more defensive prowess to that Southern team. We'll see how that goes as we continue to progress. We'll take another quick break here, and on the other side, we'll dive into some college sports, basketball, football. Transfer portal is wide open as it has ever been here on WBAG.
Yeah, I'm transferring too.
The Monday Night Huddle is proudly sponsored by Things Above Christian Bookstore. When you need encouragement and community on your life's journey, visit Things Above Christian Bookstore. From books and church supplies to their cozy coffee shop and so much more. Don't go anywhere. Todd and Vance will be back right after this.
Are you looking to refresh your spirit and deepen your faith? Then come and discover Things Above Christian Bookstore. We have an inspiring collection of Christian and devotional books that will speak right to your heart. Searching for the perfect scripture? Browse our wide variety of Bible versions, from classic texts to modern translations. Bring the whole family. Your little ones will love exploring the engaging stories in our specially designed kids section. And here's a treat for you. Slow down and savor a peaceful moment at our wonderful in-house coffee shop. That's Things Above Christian Bookstore at 15 Southeast Court Square in Graham. We look forward to seeing you.
This is the Monday Night Huddle on WBAG. Now, back to the action with Vance Ballard and Todd Davis.
Welcome back to the Monday Night Huddle here on WBAG 105.9 FM, 1150 AM, and WBAGAMFM.com, your hometown radio network. As we mentioned there, we finished up our recap of high school basketball. Now it is time to move to some college sports, and it is a busy time of the year in college sports. We've got some things to catch up on there. And as we mentioned, it's not a rerun. Todd does get to take another victory lap involving UNC football tonight. College basketball is in made its way into conference play. All the local teams have opened that portion of their schedule. The college football season is dwindling on the gridiron, but there is more than enough to talk about going on off the field, as we do still live in the world of the transfer portal, and it is more open than it has ever been. UNC also found their new play caller since the last time we spoke. And Todd, I hope there's a motorcycle parking at the Bill Coleman practice facility on UNC's campus, because Bobby Petrino is going to need some room.
Well, you did say
I've been
that,
waiting for 3
yeah,
weeks.
You've been saying I've already got something,
Yeah,
but
I've been waiting 3 weeks on that one.
I also saw that Chip Kelly got hired.
Yes,
also,
he did, yep.
And that was the other name that was being floated around. But I don't have a problem with it.
No, I've got it written down here.
Yeah.
All jokes aside, it's
Yeah.
a fantastic hire.
He's
a really good offensive coordinator. Arkansas scored almost 40 points a game this year, and when he took over as the interim coach there, they finished on a strong suit. I think they lost their last game, but they finished off with a couple wins there to end the season. And again, all jokes aside there, obviously they write themselves, and they'll be made up until the opening kickoff next year, when the offense looks completely different than it did this year, and they look functional and competent, and they're an actually good offense, because I do think that's what Bobby Petrino is going to bring to the table.
And, and the reason why I don't talk bad about Daddy Bill is because he said at the beginning of the season, it's going to take me a year or two to get used to, coaching in college. I mean, he's used to coaching men, and now he's got to kind of reverse. This is the first time, he's been a head coach on the college level, and he's actually got to get in there and really coach. It's completely different than, and a lot of people say, it's because of Brady that is the reason why he's got all those wins. But Brady's a great quarterback. I'm not going to take anything bad about him, but he wouldn't have been on that sidelines for all those years if he wasn't a good coach.
Correct. And like I say, it will take some time. He's going to be able to prove himself. I honestly having to eat some words that he's going to stay and do it again for a second time around. I didn't think that was going to be the case, but wrong I am, and that is all right. He also appears to have found his new quarterback. We'll go ahead and let you take that victory lap. We'll let you do some gloating as Gio enters the transfer portal.
That's right. I have struck again.
One more time, ladies and gentlemen. Todd Davis and his victory lap.
Yes. Well, I said that if you got rid of Freddie Kitchen and you got a quarterback that was higher than 5'8", 5'9". Now, I did I reflected back today when I left here this morning, and I ran and did all my ventures that I had to do today. I'm thinking, my very first time I played football was and I'm aging myself here, was in 1975 when I played for Graham Sam's Alone. And then I went to Bank of Alamance. And then I went to Southern Middle School, Southern High School. I coached at Southern. I was a PA announcer. I was a broadcaster. I was, Southern Middle School assistant coach. I was a Graham Middle School assistant coach. I've done this for 54 years. And I have never seen a quarterback that was 5'8", able to look over a 6'5" average line and be successful. And I said they needed to throw in Johnson back there in the backfield. Johnson, he's 6'4". He can look over a 6'5" guy. And if you're a defensive guy, like I've been a defensive guy my whole life, is when your goal is to grab that guy, stand him up. So when you're a quarterback that's 5'8" and you're looking over a guy that's squatted down, you can see over the line. But once that defensive line moves you and you stand up, now you've got a wall in front of you. And that was my biggest thing. And my two things that I hated about Carolina this year was, one was the offensive coordinator, Freddie Kitchens, and your quarterback, Gio Lopez. Well, first one came through. They got rid of Kitchens. Now, today, after a couple of new quarterback transfers has came into Carolina now, he realized he may be riding the bench next year. So he entered the transfer portal, about 3 o'clock this afternoon?
Yeah, and I think he technically still has some eligibility issues to deal with as well, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that part, but I don't know. But how does 6'3", 228 sound in the backfield? Because
I like
that's what Carolina's new quarterback is going to be. Billy Edwards, the transfer from Wisconsin. Right now, anyway, we're obviously very early in that projection, but he is committed and signed
verbally.
with the hopes of, with the projection of being the starting quarterback next year as he comes in from Wisconsin. Didn't play a lot this year. I think he was hurt, but he has had some success at Maryland before that as well. So I think a much better option, definitely an upgrade in my opinion.
And
at the quarterback position.
And, don't come at me, with all these negative, I'm talking bad about Gio. Gio is possible.
He kind of earned it.
He earned it. I mean, he just, some people.
You'd be a liar if you were talking good about him.
Some people are, and me and you've talked about this. Some people, I was a good defensive line coach at Southern Alamance. I was a good special teams coach. I could not be a head coach. So when you go back and look at a quarterback, where he came from, he was a great quarterback. But when he jumped up in that Power 5 and a D1 school, he just didn't have it, unfortunately. I'm not talking bad about him at all. I'm just trying to state facts. I don't think that, if I'd have went and played college, I probably would have been a D3 school. I would have never been able to be a D1. There's no way. And I've played and coached and announced and everything my whole life. Mm-hmm. And I'm not slighting him one bit. He'd be a great D2 school. I don't think
he's fantastic at South Alabama.
Yeah, I just don't think that being a D1 in a Power 5 school that he just couldn't cut it.
I get that completely, and so we'll see.
And I wish him the best.
Yeah, we'll see where he lands in the portal, who takes a chance on him, and if he gets an opportunity to start somewhere else. He's one of now over 4,500 college football players who have entered the transfer portal, which is an astronomical number. Over 30% of all college football players are currently in the transfer portal. That just seems like a really big number to me, and like a lot of people aren't necessarily thinking about the fact that 2,000 of those careers are probably coming to an end.
Yeah, exactly.
Realistically, 30% of them leave of the college football world leaves its team, and you got to think the number of at least 1,500, maybe 2,000 of them don't ever play again, and that just is the way that it happens. And I don't necessarily know. I'm not blaming them because obviously some of them probably got looked at and told by their coach, "Hey, buddy's coming in next year, and you're not going to play, so you don't really have a spot here anymore." So you might as well leave. So that they may have been told that, but a lot of them are probably fishing for something better that they're just not going to find, and they're giving up their chance to play college football.
Exactly, because we've talked about that. When you're sitting on the bench and you're not playing, and it's that scenario of, on Wednesday morning you get that phone call from the parent. Well, why aren't you playing my son? My son deserves. So he's going to leave your team. And he's going to go play somewhere else. And when he gets to that other place, he realizes that he ain't going to play there either.
Right, exactly.
Or
when he does, he gets there and he's at a MAC school. No offense to the MAC, but he all of a sudden ends up transferring to a MAC school. Or he's MJ Morris from NC State, who transfers to Maryland, sits behind Billy Edwards, loses his starting job, then goes to Coastal Carolina, and it doesn't work out for him there. His head coach gets fired midseason, and now he's back in the transfer portal again, just kind of floating aimlessly around. Now, I don't think he's better than C.J. Bailey, but he gave up a starting job at NC State to transfer to Maryland because the grass looked greener for a little bit.
Well,
he played on teal grass. That's a Carolina joke.
Yeah. If y'all want Gio, we'll give him to you. I mean,
CJ. The only win NC State's gotten in quite some time was the fact that C.J. Bailey is going to stay. So we're at that position. We're all good.
But
he
can be a backup there. We're not even asking for no NIL money. None.
We've got one of those as well. He scored on Carolina 3 times.
Now, see, and that's one thing, and being a Carolina fan, I've always been a Carolina fan.
The backup position is filled.
Like this Saturday, SMU played lights out.
Absolutely, yes.
What's his name?
We
Booby.
Move over to the hardwood.
Booby, is that his name? Mm-hmm. So Booby hits 3-pointers like he's drinking Tang over there on the bench and just relaxing. And how come every time somebody plays Carolina, they have the biggest breakout game, but then you watch as the season progresses, he won't do nothing else the rest of the year. Remember the guy from Florida State several years ago had 40 points against Carolina, and then he ends up working at McDonald's, with Donald Trump That's just a joke there, because Donald Trump said he worked at McDonald's. But, I mean, where's this kid now? And he hit 40 points in that one game, and it was just lights out. And, it's just like, like you said, the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
He comes out against Carolina. He hadn't done anything for the rest of the year. He didn't do anything before then. All of a sudden,
he only just comes in to run in short yardage situations.
Yeah. So. And then he had a breakout game against Carolina. I mean, it's just Carolina always gets the best of everybody.
Yeah. But that is something Carolina, Duke, and State kind of have in common from the weekend. Duke was able to overcome it, but they all three faced teams who woke up one morning and decided, hey, we're just not going to miss today.
Georgia Tech almost beat
Virginia
Duke.
Yeah, they did. Virginia makes a lot of sense because they're a good basketball team, so them scoring and shooting the way they did. But SMU and Florida State came into their two games on Saturday against Carolina and Duke, having been two of the bottom shooting teams in the ACC through the early portion of the season, and then both of them went scorched earth. SMU shot 54% from beyond the arc, 70% in the second half overall. And so, like I said, just kind of one of those days. Duke was able to overcome Florida State's unconsciousness there for a little while.
Georgia Tech.
No, I'm talking about the Florida State game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was watching Georgia Tech.
They pulled away and got a decent win there. They beat Florida State 91-87 in a game that Florida State was never for 1 second out of, and based on some Duke people that I've talked to, was a game that raised blood pressures to unhealthy levels all across the Durham area.
Well, I have to give a shout out to I don't know how you would say, she may be my great aunt, even by marriage only, because my grandmother's brother was her husband, and her name was Louise Phillips, and she would always say, you can't be a Carolina fan and a heart patient at the same time. You just can't do it. And so, she was one of the biggest Carolina fans you could ever be. And, it comes down to some things like that, just raises your blood pressure. And, and Carolina can do it every time they play basketball.
Yeah. Well, speaking of a team that goes by Carolina sometimes, can raise your blood pressure, don't necessarily play basketball, but they did just lose their way into the playoffs, as we talked about at the beginning of the show. And as jokingly as I say that, it is true.
They did, yeah.
But for the first time in nearly a decade, the Carolina Panthers are in the playoffs. For the first time in over a decade, they're hosting a playoff game and doing so as a division winner. And I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. I don't know for 100%. I'm high 90s percentage that I am correct about this. They are now the only team to make the playoffs twice with a losing record, having done so being 7-8 in 2014, I believe, the year before they made the Super Bowl, and then doing so now again at 8-9, making the playoffs with a losing record. So
keep pounding.
Yay for that. But hey, playoffs are playoffs. All jokes aside, it's 0-0. They've got the Rams coming to town. Interesting matchup. Obviously, Vegas does not favor the Panthers at all. They're 10.5-point underdogs in a home game against the team they just beat in Charlotte on Week 13. Now, I'm not sure that I necessarily think the Panthers can win, because I've told a lot of people that I think the Rams are my team, the team I have favored to win the NFC as a whole, and maybe even the Super Bowl. But I do think that, see if you agree or not, that I think they should probably be the most relaxed, loose, easygoing team to ever play in a playoff game on Saturday afternoon. It's 100% house money for the Panthers right now. All the pressure is on the Rams. They weren't supposed to be here as late as Saturday night or Sunday afternoon at 3:30. The Panthers weren't necessarily supposed to be in the playoffs, especially dating back to September, going all year long. So that's what I mean by house money. All the pressure's on the Rams. They're coming in as a Super Bowl hopeful. So I don't know why you would go out. Obviously, there's pressure. Obviously, there's going to be adrenaline. It's a playoff game. It matters. But be relaxed. Just go play.
Okay, so let's go back and look at over the past season. They start off real hot, but here's one thing about Carolina is that if you look over the last, I think maybe 6 or 7 weeks, they would win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. It was a hopscotch every week.
The longest, I guess you could call that a streak or pattern or tendency of doing that in NFL history was the Panthers this season. It would have been 9 weeks in a row had they beat the Buccaneers, because they would have come off a loss and done the win again, but instead they went back-to-back losses to end the season. But it would have been 9 weeks.
And then you've got some sportscasters that has brought that up and said, hey, Panther fans, be careful because, they lost to Seattle and they'll beat Tampa Bay. So the record goes, they'll make it to the playoffs and then they'll lose that game and then that'll be it. So maybe they broke that chain. I'm not going to say they're going to win the Super Bowl.
No.
And if I do, I'm definitely Todd Adonis.
If I do, we're going out to dinner courtesy of DraftKings.
Yeah. But, one thing about the Rams is that a lot of people around here need to remember is even though he's been temporarily removed as being the kicker, Josh Carty, who played at Western Alamance, he's on that Rams team. So that's going to be interesting to see. He just went into a slump. They pulled him off. Their kicker now is of course
Harold Mevis.
Yeah, and he's
it's a fantastic name. I hate that he did has to come on in place of Josh Carty, but he's a fantastic name. He's built like a bowling ball,
and he's pretty good.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. So
he's the perfect. He's not your prototypical kicker that you draw in a lab, but if you wanted to make one on Madden, that's probably the most comedic way you could do it.
Yeah.
Good name.
Yeah.
Mevis.
And several years ago when Williams played Eastern Randolph, their quarterback was like him. Their quarterback was like 6'2", 6'3", and weighed 285 pounds and fast.
Jared Lorenzen type.
Yeah. And that's the type of guy you make. That's your running back is 6'7", 355 pounds, and has a capability of being
everything.
Yeah, just all out when you build them on Madden. So yeah, that's exactly right. But the Panthers, they backed in. But hey, there's another team that backed in, going back to college right fast, and that's Miami.
Yeah.
And Miami is in the playoffs in the top 4.
Yep.
And has one game away from being able to play for a national championship. So they're the team that's playing on house money.
Oh,
they're the team
absolutely.
that's and we always talk about in sports, it's teams like the Panthers and the Hurricanes and teams like that, and SMU this past weekend, Florida State this past weekend, Georgia Tech this past weekend. Those are the teams that are the most dangerous because they don't have anything to lose.
No, they just and that's where I think the Panthers' mindset should be on Saturday afternoon, is going out there with nothing to lose, going out there just playing and being loose. Now, not forgetting the fact that you just beat this team right around a month ago.
Yeah.
Utilizing that knowledge as well. Now it's a playoff game. It's McVay and Stafford in a different situation for sure. I'm not discrediting that at all. But again, I see no reason why the Panthers should be anything less than relaxed and excited to play in this football game.
Exactly. And I would eat up, because it's been 10 years since they've been there. I would be exactly what you said. I would enjoy every single this whole week, because guess what? There's Baker Mayfield had turned in his equipment
Correct.
this morning.
And exactly. And that's the thing that from an outside perspective, I would take away if I was a Panthers fan from this season, is that the future doesn't look that bad. This offense isn't great by any means. Things aren't going perfectly, but it's good enough to get you here. There are bright spots. Ted McMillan is an absolute monster. He was the right pick. I've had to eat my words on that several times. I didn't think he was a bad player. I just didn't think that it was necessary to use the 8th pick on a receiver at that point, but I was wrong. He was exactly the right pick. He's woken Bryce Young up. He's made him an NFL quarterback. I think you can take some confidence in that. Couple pieces here and there on the defensive side of the ball during the offseason, and the future is very bright in Carolina, something you couldn't say 2 months ago.
Well, I did like the hiring of Dave Canales. I thought that give the man a chance, and here he is in his second season, and he's proved himself. He just continues to grow and grow and grow. Yeah. I hated that they got rid of Riverboat Ron. I was a big fan of Ron Rivera. Loved Ron Rivera. When he went to Washington, I was still pulling because actually, growing up here in North Carolina,
you don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. You either have the Redskins or the Falcons, and I couldn't stand the Falcons. But today I'm a Falcons fan because
absolutely. Celebrating them tonight.
They helped us get in. But I went back to picking up, and I'll call them the Washington Redskins. Up until the day I died, just like the Greensboro Coliseum. It's not First Horizon. It's not Westgate Boulevard. It's Lee Street. I get that thing. It's like if somebody comes in.
My wife tried to show me something going on at the First Horizon Center the other day, and I said,
Where? Huh?
I said, where's that at? That's exactly what I said. Where's that at?
Yeah.
She said, it's in Greensboro. I said, oh, you mean the Greensboro Coliseum?
Exactly.
Yeah,
the Greensboro Coliseum.
Yeah, sure, we can go.
And they made an announcement today, and I know this has nothing to do with not coming to Greensboro Coliseum, but the Stephen Tanger Center, which is the Performance Arts Center in Greensboro. David Lee Roth is coming. Yeah, so, Van Halen fans, there you go. David Lee Roth's coming to the Stephen Tanger Center in downtown Greensboro. But, the big thing is that, I liked Ron Rivera. I liked him a lot. I thought he done some great things as the coach. But, when they let him go, I kind of disappointed. And since then, the coaches they've had has just been mediocre. I mean, not even on that level.
Yeah. I
mean, some of them have been terrible.
Agreed.
And then
I think the Dan Morgan hire was just as important as Dave Canales was bringing in. He was my timeline might be off. If not an original Panther, very close thereafter to being on that original Panthers team. One of the first foundational members of that defense when they were conceived in the NFL, bringing him in after making good decisions in Seattle, and he's been able to kind of, I don't know, I guess the only way to put it is to tell Tepper to shut up and sit down. That's something the GM before him wasn't able to do. We saw all the time. Tepper was involved in all the decisions. He was throwing waters at people. He was smacking the hats off of guys' heads. Dan Morgan's been hired, and the Panthers have gotten better. They're now in the playoffs, and you've heard almost nothing out of David Tepper in terms of decision-making or antics with the fans.
And he, at one time, he was like, I'm going to just pack up and move. I'm going to pack everybody, and we're going to go to South Carolina.
Completely hit the brakes on that. There is a metal frame building just standing in a field in South Carolina because they've just stopped production on that practice facility. And again, I think it plays in big part to Dan Morgan in that hire. That was just as smart as the Dave Canales hire. One, because he cares about the organization that he helped build.
And it's a perfect –
Two, he's an ex-NFL linebacker. I don't care if you are worth $1 billion. You're not going to say anything to that guy.
No. And, to be fair, is if you're going to be called the Carolina Panthers, don't move to South Carolina. You're in Charlotte, which South Carolina, North Carolina line cuts right through Charlotte. Mm-hmm. If you don't believe me, go to Carowinds, and you can be in South Carolina and North Carolina at the exact same time.
That's true.
And, that was a perfect location for them to be the Carolina Panthers. Now, we do have one more break left, and then we're going to come back. We're going to wrap this show up, and we'll be back right after we hear from Postal Connections. UniFirst.
This segment of the Monday Night Huddle is brought to you by UniFirst Corporation, one of North America's largest providers of uniform rental and facility services, supplying uniforms, protective clothing, custom corporate image apparel, and facility programs to businesses across diverse industries. The guys will return right after this.
You can create a winning image for your team and keep your employees safe and productive with UniFirst. Every UniFirst uniform program includes comfortable workwear and exceptional service. UniFirst also has all the facility and safety products you need to help keep your workplace clean and your customers happy. At UniFirst, we always deliver because you always deliver. Visit us at unifirst.com.
This is the Monday Night Huddle on WBAG. Now, back to the action with Vance Ballard and Todd Davis.
Well, I kind of apologize there. I thought we'd already done the UniFirst, but yes, UniFirst Corporation is our title sponsor, and we'd like to thank them. But another sponsor is going to be Fat Man and His Food, and you can listen to the Fat Man and His Food Internet Game of the Week tomorrow night on WBAG AMFM.com. Myself and my partner Vance Ballard will be at Southeast Alamance, and Western Alamance at Southeast Alamance. That, once again, is internet only. Airtime's going to be at 5:45. And on the radio tomorrow, we have a big ACC game, Duke at Louisville, with an airtime of 6 p.m., and that's going to be hostile with Duke going up to Louisville. Louisville looking to revenge their ACC tournament loss to them last year. And then we'll be back on Friday. Mark Swing will be in my place as Southeast Alamance will go to Williams, and that will be the Graham Sport Goods Game of the Week. And that is Friday night, Southeast Alamance at Williams, airtime at 5:45. You hear that on AM 1150, FM 105.9, and WBAG AMFM.com. It'll be Mark Swing and Vance Ballard. I may show up just because it's Chris Honeycutt's birthday. And if you know Chris Honeycutt, he is the Athletic Boosters Club president at Williams. So just go ahead and give him a big shout-out on Friday. And then Saturday we have back-to-back ACC games. We have Duke at SMU, airtime at 1 p.m., and then Carolina comes on. Wake Forest is going to travel down to the Hill with airtime of 5 p.m., and then we'll be back next Monday for more Monday Night Huddle. For Todd Davis, Vance Ballard, we hope you have a great week ahead. Be sure to join us tomorrow night on the internet as we are at Southeast Alamance, and then, of course, right here on the air will be Duke and Louisville. In the meantime, hope you have a great night, and be careful out there because I think Vance said earlier today it's going to be a little foggy tonight.
Sure is.
And until tomorrow. For the WBAG Sports crew, have a good night.
Happy New Year. Follow WBAG AMFM Sports on YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you check us out.
And tell your friends.